Good morning, everybody. It's so great to be here, and thank you to the Previs Foundation for this phenomenal concept and execution. We couldn't be happier. So, Rafael, I'm just going to ask you, guide a little bit, a few questions.
Sure.
The theme today is focusing on innovation, which you are no stranger to, and hope. And I always like starting your story with Venezuela and you as the 14-year-old. 14?
Yep.
And what started you on this path?
Well, I was lucky enough to be born in Venezuela. We have a wonderful program there, founded by Dr. Jose Antonio Abreu. And the basic of that program is that music should be a right, not a privilege. So the idea is that to give music to everybody for free. It's an after-school program. My brother, which is 8 years my senior, was already part of it, but because he's older, he did his thing. I had nothing to do with that, as it goes. And I was quite a, let's say, hectic kid when I was growing up. So he did his thing. I was doing mine in Venezuela. Unfortunately, to this day, there's still no classical music radio. So music on its own for me was a completely stranger until one day he was in his room doing his thing. There was something that caught my attention. And I asked him, what is that? Why do you like it? I say, yes. Okay, I will take you to the orchestra tomorrow. That's how we call the nucleus over there. Few months after that, I found out that that was the 1812 overture from Tchaikovsky, and what caught my attention was the Marseillaise theme played by the horns. So the horns kind of shows me, and I start this beautiful ride, which is journey, which is being into music. So a little bit getting into that. But one of the things that it is very important with this program is that when let's say it's a little bit unorthodox because you start playing the instrument, but you start playing in an orchestra at the same time. So any time that you're going to play an instrument, it needs a lot of time and dedication, and you are on your own, which it could be hard. But in El Sistema, you start doing that, and you start playing in an orchestra with the idea is that, if you are united, you could create and you would be part of something even more beautiful. Maybe when you're playing on your own, it sounds quite terrible, but then you just go and what this sensation of community, you create something that is quite beautiful. And that actually helps all of the kids to just jump a lot of hoops and get ahead and start making wonderful concerts in really, really no time.
No time. Beethoven 5 in
yeah.
How many?
Yeah, because the thing is that I started with the orchestra. Few weeks later, the conductor of the orchestra, French guy, his name was Antoine Duhamel. He was the conductor of the semi-professional orchestra. He was the conductor of the youth orchestra, and he was the teacher of trombone, trumpet, and tuba. So he comes, he tells me, he gave me this bronze thing, say blow, I did, the sound came out. So that was fun. That's how I started. And then 3 weeks later, I'm playing, and he says, like, you should come tomorrow. And I told my brother, Joel, you have to bring me tomorrow. And I was like, no way. It's like, yeah, Antoine told me that. And like, no, you cannot come. It's like, what's the big deal? He goes and is like, you go and ask him. He went, he asked, and said, you have to bring him tomorrow. Okay, fine. And then later on, I found out what it was. On Saturday, there were auditions for the orchestra. So he has been preparing for audition, playing a scale, all of that, and I had 3 weeks playing the instrument. And then I remember arriving, and I enter, and there's people in front. I have no idea why. There was a jury. I have no idea what that's even supposed to mean. And he tells me, so what are you going to play for us tonight? So, what do you mean? The only thing that you have taught me, one scale. Okay, play the scale. I played the scale on the Saturday. So like, okay, on Monday, you start with the orchestra. Yeah. And I will never forget that. On Monday, I arrived. It was second movement of Beethoven 5. And normally, you read in a way which, for French horn players, you have to do transposition, which I have no idea what that's even supposed to go. But normally, you have all the notes. And then Antoine, there was somebody that came from the capital to do some section. So Antoine said, next to me and told me, "Oh yeah, of course you don't know transposition." It's like, what? It's like, well, okay, this note is not a C. This note is a G. It's like, no, that note is a C because that is, C, E, G. No, it's like, no. For this piece tonight, this note is a G. It's like, okay, if this is a G, then what is this? Well, this is an A and this is a B. Okay, now you know how to transport. So play. And that's how I just started playing in the orchestra. 8 months later, I was part of the National Children Orchestra, and a year after that, I was the solo horn of my hometown, and then I started playing with the National Youth Orchestra all over the world.
I just wish I could have seen your brother's face, that's all.
Yeah, he wasn't pleased.
Needless to say, he doesn't play the bassoon anymore. Elsa Stemma led this way, and you began conducting brass ensembles.
Yeah, I was with El Sistema. We were having this, so I was already the solo horn of the orchestra. So we started having a brass quintet. It was the Simon Bolivar Brass Quintet, and we used to go into different cities of the country. We arrive on a Thursday, we play a concert on Thursday, we teach kids Friday, Saturday, and then on Sunday we put together a little brass ensemble of the kids of the thing that we have taught for those 2 days. And yeah, sometimes you just have to conduct that. And Maestro Abreu saw one of those things. I have no idea. I went one day to his office to talk about the future a little bit, and he was amazing because Maestro Abreu, he was always like, his vision was like 15 years ahead. So I go there, Maestro, I need to talk to you, okay? And I was there, my mind, I was going to ask to be playing some solos, some things, and then he started talking about conducting. I said, well, I just let him talk, and I will wait until he finish, and then I will tell him what I want to do. And then he started talking about how the things were a conductor, what it needs to be into place to be a conductor, and how some conductors are born, but the discipline and all the things that need to be done. And I'm like, well, where is he going with this? And it's like, okay, I'll wait. Fine. So he keeps going, 10 minutes explaining what is this whole thing. And then at the end of that, he says, like, I think you have been born to do that, and if you allow me, I will show you the path into conducting. Which in that moment, stupidly enough, that wasn't what it was in my head, not even one little bit, and that opened the thing, and everything kind of took a line, and so it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. From there, that's how it happened, and how he knew about this is because he saw me conducting some brass ensemble that I have no idea. I mean, we're just moving the hands, just trying to get them to do the thing so we can go to the other place. But yeah.
So Rafael first conducted the orchestra in 2018, and we had been in a music director search for about 3 years. The orchestra really didn't see a lot of guest conductors prior to that, so it was really an opportunity to have many conductors come and work with them, which is good for an orchestra. Makes
Absolutely.
them very flexible. Rafael came in January. We were pretty much thinking we were at the end of this search. He conducted the orchestra once. Lisa Wallerstein, his wife, and the great cellist, of course, was sitting in the row with me. And after the overture, Berlioz, I leaned forward and looked at her, and she looked at me, and we just did that. And we offered him the position a week later. And the rest is history. So in our years together, including a long time together during COVID, where we were in the bubble, we've had many, many conversations. And importantly, as Julie was saying, during that time, we were able to stand on the stage of what is now the Radio Shell at Jacobs Park, when it was concrete and some steel, and look out and imagine the future. Even more exciting, perhaps, we were at the home of Irwin and Joan when we had conversations about renovating Jacobs Music Center, which now I hope all of you have heard, and if you haven't, please hurry. It's really fantastic. So there was all of this building that is so thrilling and so I believe so foundationally important for this city. Now, and throughout this, the other through line is building the orchestra. And into, and shaping, I should say, the orchestra. In terms of innovation, you have the composer, of course, and we can talk, you have Bruckner in your head, I know now, starting tomorrow's rehearsal. And then we have the interpretation. We have the dots on the page.
Yeah.
The composer writes it and then turns it over to you and the musicians, this imagination collectively. Can you talk a little bit about that, how you approach that?
Yeah, one thing that happened, which is very important, and we have been working with the orchestra, is because, of course, as Martha say, the music is on the page, and then it is all for the interpretation. But it's not only the interpretation, but the proper sound. Even though the musics, you see them like words, they are there. You cannot play it the same way, let's say, dynamic of forte is for Mozart than what it is for Mahler, or in this case, Bruckner. And it is very important that every composer will have their proper sound. That being said, the orchestra as an entity has a sound on its own. I know it sounds very voodoo, I'm sorry about that, but it is the orchestra has a personality, but we need to be able, and this is what creates orchestra that they play well or good to excellency, is that you get the sound that is yours of as an entity, and then you could actually get in the sound of the sound world of each of the composers that you are having. This week, for instance, we're going to be playing the On Suk Chin cello concerto. On Suk, she's 59 years old, come from South Korea, and she's been living in Europe for the last 35 years. And her world, it's really, she utilized a vast orchestra full of layers and architecture to get the sense of telling a story. And we are juxtaposing that with the Seventh Symphony of Bruckner, which was an organ. He was obsessed with how the sound it would come. And you could feel with the sound of Bruckner, for instance, that it would go from bottom to the top. But it's like watching a little bit or seeing an architectural piece. Every single brick, you needed to have the foundation. But you cannot just look at the brick, you have to be able to go a little further so you will see the whole arc. At the same time, if every single brick is not properly made, the structure will collapse. So you have to be able to actually create this kind of a space of sound from now with Bruckner that wrote that in 1888. So we have these kind of things all together, and it's always wonderful and fascinating. We are very happy that the orchestra, the way the orchestra has embraced all of the work that we have been doing lately, and the audience with us have been a little hiatus interrupted by COVID, as we all know, but it's fantastic to be able to make justice to the composers, to what we're doing, and at the same time bringing the audience into this wonderful journey that we're doing together.
These 3 weeks are sort of a closing festival to the first season at Jacobs Music Center. First of all, how has this acoustic changed?
Oh, I'm so happy about that. Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky, like Martha said before, when we were at John and Erwin's house, talking about what the orchestra could have. This is an excellent world-class orchestra that has not been, maybe not many people around the world know about. So it's a very wonderful jewel that we have in there, but an orchestra needs a good instrument to be able to shine. And now the renovation has been done, and we could not be happier, because every single thing, the whole now, it is not a problem, but it's a catalyzer of the work that we are actually doing, and it's just exposed to everybody. Every single tiny little detail that we work, that maybe might think that people will not be able to hear. Now the whole allow us to actually do it. And of course, the moment that we get there, then as we like to do, then it needs to be even better, and we need to get the level even higher. And with that, it will come with crazier projects and things like that.
Did you see the look in his eye at that moment? These 3 weeks, it's largest. Yeah. So Bruckner builds very much on the work of Wagner, except without singers.
Yeah.
Shostakovich, who really began composing for the theater and is very dramatic, Shostakovich 7.
Yeah, the Shostakovich 7, this is a wonderful symphony that it happened during the siege of Leningrad. So when during World War II, Russians were under siege from the Nazis, and they were going in there, and they thought that everything was going to be lost. Shostakovich wrote it during that time, and there's an amazing story about that, because the winter helped that the Nazis could not take over of Leningrad, which helped later on to what we all know what happened 3 years later. But when all of this was actually happening, you could hear the resilience. The third movement, you could hear the bombs coming from the air and exploding on top of many parts of the city. The city stayed, and there were many musicians that they were starving to death. And Shostakovich finished the symphony, and they put an orchestra of people. They will just put their instrument that they have not been played for 7 months and put it all together. Went to a church. I remember this, and I just get goosebumps. And they just play the music. And the music, you hear the terror, but at the same time, the resilience of the human spirit, all encapsulated in 70 minutes. It's just fantastic.
It's so dramatic.
Yeah.
And then finally, we closed the season with 3 performances of the Third Symphony of Mahler. When we talked about the size of the stage, our goal was to be able to do Mahler's Third Symphony without having the children's chorus line the aisles on the main floor, which is how it had to fit before. Yeah. Now everybody, fingers crossed, we've done a couple tests.
Right. And it's also one of the largest pieces of music written. It's 90 minutes, and it goes in 6 movements, and it's a little bit of what different elements tells. So it does what the animals tell me, what the flowers on the prairie tells me, what the children and angels will tell me, and at the end, what loves tell me. It's the last movement, and it's just wonderful. It just makes me so happy.
It is full of joy. We hope you'll be able to come. Speaking of musicians, we have them waiting to perform for you. 5 of our wind players are here today. Lily Josefsberg on flute, Sarah Schuster oboe, Max Opferkug clarinet, Ryan Simmons bassoon, and John Dagnan horn. And they will play 3 short pieces, starting with Valerie Coleman's Umoja, second Ligety's first movement from 6 bagatelles, and a quick and lovely, fun closing piece by Paquito de Rivera. So thank you, Rafael, and welcome our musicians.
Thank you very much.